This is the darkest moment in the history of the Vietnam Air Force. It was also a battle in which the MiG-21 fighter lost a lot in the air battle. The US F-4 Ghost Squadron set up an airstrike in the river to lure the North Vietnamese Air Force into battle. The US F-4 Ghost Squadron, which ambushed the US fighter jets on all four sides, crazily killed the only 16 MiG-21s in the North Vietnamese Air Force. In just a few minutes, the F-4 Ghost Squadron shot down 7 MiG-21 fighters with 0 casualties. On January 2, 1967, at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, the F-4 Ghost Squadron, which had 28 F-8 fighter jets, took off from the Wu Wen Air Force Base in Thailand. They formed a group of 4 consisting of the Osmobile, Fortman, Lincoln, Plymouth, and Vespa, 7 attack teams with car brands as their codenames. This time, they will follow the flight trajectory of the F-105 bombing squadron in the 1966 rolling mine operation. To put it bluntly, these 28 Ghosts are carrying heavy bombs in the air in the past bombing operations and the slow-moving F-105 minesweeper. Given that in the previous operations, the MiG-21 squadron of the North Vietnamese Air Force repeatedly bypassed the U.S. military air defense fighter and attacked the bombing squadron and caused great casualties, faced with the result of 43 MiG-21s being shot down in a few months, it is obvious that the Americans could not accept it. And in October 1966, this situation was even more serious. MiG-21s usually take advantage of their speed and volume and take air-to-air attack tactics, making the U.S. military bomber as sensitive as a cockroach. They even threw bombs back and forth as soon as they heard that a MiG-21 was approaching. And this also made the U.S. military seniors dizzy and need to change such a passive situation. At the end of 1966, with the U.S. Air Force's 8th Combat Aircraft Company stationed on the front line, the senior U.S. military officers also regarded him as a key figure in rebuilding the frontline morale. And the ace pilot in this second war did have something unique. On the 5th day after the fallout, he came up with an ingenious plan. That is to use the F-4 Ghost monster to imitate the minesweeper so as to attract the MiG fighters in the North Vietnamese Air Force and then destroy it. And when he reported this idea to his superiors, the U.S. 7th Air Force and the commander of the Tactical Air Force, William Mormay, got a lot of support. But there is still a fatal flaw in this action, which is that it must be disguised to ensure that the North Vietnamese Air Force is fooled. Once the MiG-21 does not take off, the entire operation will fail. And before the operation, General Robin Alts is carrying out a secret plan. He will also install the QRC-160 interference hanger carried by the F-105 minesweeper on the F-4 Ghost monster, because the North Vietnamese radar can detect ghost signals at this time. So with the QRC-160 interference hanger, it is more likely that this is a minesweeper bombing squadron to deceive it to take off. And in order to prevent the MiG-21 from taking off, the U.S. military also sent another 28 Ghost Monster fighters to form an East Vietnamese platoon to intercept at the North Vietnamese border. At the same time, General Robin Alts coordinated the real minesweeper squadron to launch an attack in advance to increase the credibility of the mission. 24 F-105 minesweepers under the escort of 16 F-104 starfighters launched bombings on the air defense positions of the North Vietnamese airport. And it is this camouflage method that makes the North Vietnamese authorities doubtful. At 3:05 p.m., the Australian team, led by General Robin Alts, first arrived in Hanoi. But at this time, the sky was covered by thick clouds. Although General Robin Alts deliberately shouted out the code of the minesweeper's warhead in the radio, he had no confidence at this time. He had no idea if his plan would work. And after many laps, General Robin Alts ordered to turn around. His simulation bombing time was over. At this time, he had to hand over the performance to the second team. And just when the Australian team turned around and was about to return, an accident occurred. The No. 3 aircraft of the Australian team detected a MiG-21 approaching rapidly. It was a Vietnamese. In the radio, there was a loud scream of General Robin Alts. Then 2 MiG-21s came out of the clouds. Looking at the long-awaited MiG-21, General Robin Alts immediately ordered the team to throw away the fuel tank and prepare for a dogfight. But the 2 MiG-21s began to run away. The team commander, General Robin Alts, did not give up and fired 2 A-7E Sparrows, but due to the close distance, he could not lead the team, and in the end, both of them were dragged out. General Robin Alts, who was not reconciled, fired 2 A-7E Sparrows again, but the result was the same. In a humid tropical rainforest like Southeast Asia, the U.S. military weapon performance was greatly reduced. The MiG-21 was about to escape with its speed advantage, and the other MiG-21 used the clouds to successfully cover the rear of the team and used the cannon to attack the No. 3 aircraft. But the urgent alts ordered the No. 2 aircraft to fire, but the first missile still fell. Fortunately, the second Sparrow successfully hit the tail of the MiG-21. Although the first kill was finally won, General Robin Alts did not have time to celebrate because the MiG-21 in the rear used the cannon to pierce the No. 3 aircraft's wings. With the call of his teammates in the radio, General Robin Alts immediately ordered the first 3 aircraft to turn left, and this operation directly changed the passive form of the battlefield, and the No. 4 aircraft made room for action. It was only seen that the Walter radar tower had not yet quickly locked the enemy and fired a Sparrow to successfully knock it down. And when the Alts team was preparing to return, another MiG-21 escaped and reappeared in front of General Robin Alts. This is really a way to heaven. You don't have to go to hell to escape. He directly fired the remaining 2 missiles and successfully knocked it down. In this way, the first team annihilated the MiG-21 team in 3 minutes. But at this time their fuel was tight, and they had to return to the airfield. Just when the second Sparrow team was ready to enter, 2 MiG-21s took off from the ground airport and charged again. Although the second team commander, General Daniel, really wanted to launch a missile, he had no choice but to do it because the MiG-21 was lurking around the army. But he couldn't do it when he saw the enemy fleeing. Just when he ordered to turn to get a better angle, another MiG-21 suddenly rushed out of the clouds and was right next to it. He could even see the red stars on the wings and the pilot's face. Obviously, the MiG-21 was also frightened by the US air jets. He didn't even fire a bullet and was ready to leave quickly. The imagination is beautiful, but the reality is very cruel. The third MiG-21 of the Ford team immediately launched a Sparrow missile, but the agile MiG-21 dodged it with a few turns. After the first shot, the third MiG-21 immediately fired 2 more Sparrows, but it was still no good. At this time, the radio also broadcast his curse. Fortunately, the fourth MiG-21 finally completed the task. When the Ford team was not yet satisfied, the third half of the group had arrived at the battlefield. They had to leave. After seeing that there were still 2 MiG-21s left, the commander of the third group, John Stone, immediately ordered to disperse and chase. But he was still excited and fired the MiG-21 Sparrow too early and splashed a basin of cold water on him again. John Stone, who did not give up, fired the second MiG-21, which hit the escaping MiG-21. He saw 2 more MiGs coming down from behind. Philip Shaw was in a hurry to catch up with the few credits and successfully used the missile to shoot it down. And Lawrence Glenn, who also fired his first missile, destroyed the last MiG-21. He saw that several of them were transferred to the North Moon air defense positions and urgently fired a large number of SAM-2 missiles to support the MiG-21 in the air. But under the operation of the PRC-160 interference hangar, these missiles were all lost. He saw that the Moon Army was no longer taking off. The Chief of Operations Command, Lieutenant Colonel Bill Olson, also ordered all platoons to return. And none of this operation was successful. The US military had 0 casualties and dropped 7 MiG-21 fighters. There must be some friends here who don't want to give up. You should know that the North Moon Army only has 16 MiG-21s at the moment. This battle almost lost half of it and greatly improved the morale of the US military. This is a great loss. The 555th Tactical Fighter also simulated this operation 3 days later. Don't say that the results of the war are not so exaggerated, but it is still a small gain. They shot down 2 MiG-21 fighters again. Although the North Moon government later said that all the shot down MiG-21 pilots had successfully parachuted and survived, but this news was not trusted. And in the next 4 months, the MiG-21 never took off again.